And that's why today we've brought these two items right here with us so we can show them to you. One of the arguments our opponents make is that our windings are not technologically advanced and are very labor intensive. Here to my right, where the mobile phone is, and here by the glasses, there's another motor. These are two motors, each with 4 windings. One of these motors has a standard winding and the other has ours. So dear participants and viewers, please tell me, which do you think is the motor with the standard winding, and which one has the combined winding from these two? That's a challenging question, actually. Let me think about it. Yes. And as for the technology, what kind of complexity does it actually involve? The core is ours, specifically made for our motor. The windings, well, let's take a look. If you look from this side, from here, they don't look any different. The difference here lies in the way the wiring diagram is actually assembled. In this case, you can group them in 3s, or more specifically, in 2s. This one, and this one. These are the 3 phases, as you saw here. So, dear viewers, this is a standard motor. A standard winding is wound, or rather, on the motor, and this one is ours. Which do you think is harder to assemble, this one or this one? Where is the labor intensity higher? The bags are made with the same die, and the windings are wound on the same machine. The number of sections is the same. They are inserted in the same way, the wiring assembly. And the most labor-intensive process is assembling the wiring diagram. So here, assembling the wiring is a more labor-intensive process than here. So, excuse me, which stator has a higher cost price? This one or this one, right? I think the answer is obvious. And here, basically, here is our motor. Here it is. It can be made in this configuration. Here it can be, hold on, I'm untangling it. Sorry, it got tangled. A mess, right? Here it can be installed like this. The encoder is attached. There you go. And the motor becomes a traction motor. So if we compare now, let's remove this. What do you think is the power of this engine? In equivalent terms, if we remove absolutely everything, what is the maximum power you can obtain from this? This is it, a Chinese motor. Standard winding, Chinese motor, it says 30 watts on it. Here, you can just take a quick look. You can push it a bit harder, well, maybe not 50, but you can certainly give it 100 hertz, though at that point the steel will start heating up like crazy. Like crazy. In fact, this is a standard type of winding used in many applications. So what power, equivalent to a standard motor, does our motor actually generate? We'll show you now. Here it is. This motor and this motor, both of these motors have exactly the same power. Here's a tricky question for you. Why would we make this one when you already have this one? Well, we actually make it multipolar, and we also power it with a high frequency. Basically, we achieve the same RPM as this motor. So what's the problem? Why would you make these when you can perhaps make those instead? Why produce abacuses when you can make calculators? An entire motor can be smaller in size than the rotor of this one. Here, it actually gets inserted, right? If you show it like this somehow. It goes right inside there, over there. There you go. It moves in and out perfectly, smoothly, and precisely. As someone once famously remarked, based on this, here's a question. Aren't we, in some ways, fools? Or who are we, really, perhaps? We're making armatures instead of this, right? Do we actually have tons of copper available on the planet or something? Probably a whole lot, right? I wanted to say something, but there's really nothing to add. The question is, do we have any common sense, colleagues? I get that you could have planned this or told stories, tall tales, whatever you like. If this motor, equipped with a current sensor, temperature sensor, or encoder, hadn't been produced in a serial manner, the same way all these other motors are made, if it hadn't been clearly proven possible to actually mass produce it, if the cost price hadn't been clearly proven, if the laboratory parameters hadn't been fully confirmed. And this isn't just theory, it's practice. I have just one question. Who are we? Why do we treat ourselves this way? Or are we just going to keep doing this until we're completely worn out? Making these kinds of really big motors, right? And it's not even us making them anymore these days, it's China. And we ultimately end up dependent on China, or we can focus on this, making the transition to a new generation. But if we don't actually do it, someone else really will. For us, and for society as a whole, the choice is clear and obvious right now, at this particular point in time. Asynchronous motors aren't going anywhere historically. They have done most of the work, and will continue to do most of the work in converting one type of electrical energy into mechanical energy, and vice versa. That's how the development of civilization has historically progressed and unfolded. And right now, indeed, we are at the forefront of it. In the past, when we started this project, we moved very cautiously, so as not to make unnecessary or wrong steps. Many people were carefully watching the situation unfold. Honestly, some even laughed at it, finding it quite amusing. They thought we were crazy. Many investors were mocked. Now the situation has significantly changed. What happened yesterday? People who used to laugh at us, who used to treat this whole thing with humor, came over to visit us. But yesterday they came and basically, they were truly surprised that the money hadn't been stolen or wasted somewhere. Instead, to their surprise, something was actually built. And what was built? A real modern facility that operates technologically. And the attitude of these people, believe me, these are people who have truly seen a lot of different businesses over the years. And that's why there was a rather serious discussion and a serious conversation, because they were interested in all of this not as a joke, but from a practical point of view, how it all happened. So right now we are at the stage of commissioning the facility. The facility is operational. Since we still can't work at full capacity, we can't achieve sufficient sales volume or profit. So we are experiencing operating expenses. What are operating expenses? Does the building need to be cleaned right now? Yes, it actually does. Does it need to be heated? Yes. Do we need electricity? Yes. Do we need to pay the staff salaries? Yes, we do. All these expenses together, including taxes, which also need to be paid, make up the operating costs, which are at the present time being covered by investment funds. Point. Some of these costs are covered by the work we do, but not yet in full. Therefore, until we reach full operational capacity, which, as we mentioned, is about a year from the completion of construction and obtaining the official operating permit, we will, for the time being, have to cover these expenses in this way. These are no longer the amounts we used to deal with before, far from it on the one hand. But on the other hand, we continue to steadily develop and thoroughly test new designs. And for those products that have already been tested, we need tooling to start their production. But as for the tooling, you have to pay for it, you have to cover the costs. Either that, or wait until our sales allow us to allocate funds for ordering this equipment, this tooling. So there are two options. Right now, we're considering which path to take. At this point, it's not so much in our hands as it is in yours.
So when will we see the Motylek with motors of a suitable size? Do clients actually come to you for different types of drones?
They come and we talk with them. Look, so what are we doing for the Motylek right now? We're making one exactly the same size, the core, but instead of 24 slots, it has 36. 18,000 RPM for small propellers is still too much. We need no more than 12,000. So 36 slots will allow us to precisely achieve 12,000 RPM at 600 Hertz. And on this one, at 600 Hertz, you actually get 18,000 revolutions per minute, or RPM. Accordingly, its power output will be higher because the frequency is higher. because for this one, to get 12,000, you need to supply not 600 but 400 hertz. Here it's 350, and there it's 600. So it's more optimal, and in addition, it will have less overhang of the end windings and less copper mass. Accordingly, the power increases, the amount of copper decreases, and the weight goes down. It's a more suitable design.